What up? It's your boy, Dick Incredible Man, and yes, I am back at it again. This is my discussion slash review for 911 Season 3, Episode 13, man. A lot of stuff went down this episode. It was very emotional and very heavy for a lot of the characters in this episode, and we got to see some very interesting moments with those particular characters. But, oh, boy, a lot of stuff happened, so let's just dive right into it, man. So the cases that took place this episode and everything else. Normally, sometimes the cases kind of intervene with like what's actually going on with the actual episode, but this week they felt like super random cases, and they didn't really progress the story or anything or connect to the main story at all, except for the final case with the dude with the nail gun that nailed himself in his chest. Now, first of all, I don't do construction or any type of work like that, but I know things, man. And dude even mentioned it at the very beginning. You don't point it at you if you don't intend to shoot at it. So he turned the gun, and even if it was jammed, he didn't unplug it or anything. So it still had the power going to it, and he turned it on himself, and it shot him in the chest. But the only thing I'm saying is, like, he mentioned it. You never turn anything like that on yourself. You keep it out and angled at the ground. You never aim it at anyone or anything, and you never definitely turn it on yourself. So that was his fault. And the lady with the whole bowling the bowling alley incident, sister, son, or not, you kind of got to be upset or something, lady, because let's be real. You told this dude to turn off lane 5 and put the notice up so people wouldn't bowl on that lane, and he just ignored you and let these people switch lanes, and that's how it happened to her. But I love the fact that when the other dude came and saved her, and she was like, you know what, I'm making you manager. He was like, okay, cool, dude, you're fired. I was like, okay, right on, I see you. Then we have the case with that was at the restaurant with Maddie and Chimney. And the dude had the earrings. Now, I will admit, both parties was at fault in that whole situation, because he had the earrings in his hand, and like he was kind of handing them to her in a specific way. And it kind of did seem like he was going to propose a little bit, but she took it and ran with it. And then all the other people were looking at them, and I'll be with dude. Like, it was a little hard not to give you the gift I got you for your birthday now, because it's earrings. It's not a wedding ring. It's not. And she was just all happy and giddy, and dude was like, oh no. And then she got stuck on the table, and we see Chimney and Maddie getting her out and rescuing her. Now, the cases were fine. They were all fine, and I love seeing how they always save the people in these. And this episode was just a lot of accidents, really. But everything, those cases and everything else that really kind of just took place in the show was extra. The focus of this episode was Maddie and Chimney's relationship and Michael and Bobby's relationship. I feel like, don't get me wrong, Harry was important a little bit in that whole thing with Michael and Bobby, but I felt like it was a real connection between Michael and Bobby's relationship. They never really had any problems with each other before or anything, but it just was a real connection for their relationship. We see Michael taking Harry out camping, which he does every year, and he invited Bobby along this time. Sure, yeah, just because we know he has the cancer, and Bobby is there in case anything happens. He wants to make sure everybody wants to make sure he's safe and everything, especially since he has Harry with him. So he invited Bobby just to keep everything above board, just to show that, like, well, hey, I'm taking this serious and everything. And throughout the whole episode, we see Athena, Hen, and everybody trying to convince Michael, well, and even May, well, maybe you should do it next year. But then they all kind of realize that there may not be a next year for Michael. So Michael really wants to do it this year. So they decide to do it. They go on a camping trip. And on the whole way, we learn a little bit more about Michael's father, how he always took him camping, and planting the trees because there was a forest fire. And listening to Harry say all of this stuff, and Michael kind of mimic what he was saying, made me think that Harry knew his grandfather, like his grandfather was around in his life. But as the episode progressed, we see that that wasn't the case. Michael told Harry about his grandfather, and Harry, he was telling us and talking about it, and it felt like he was there. And he tells Bobby, like, well, your grandfather seems like a wonderful man. Have you ever met? No, he died before I was born. And you're like, what? Okay. Well, how does he know all this stuff? And then later on in the episode, they break it down, and we see Michael having a conversation with Bobby. But this is after the fact that he kind of reamed Bobby out, because on the whole trip up there, you can tell that Michael was feeling less energetic. He was tired. He was run down. There was so many different things going on, because we all know that he decided not to have the operation. So he's still taking the chemo. He's still taking his medicine and everything. So of course it's going to weigh him down and make him tired, but he still wanted to do the camping trip. And at that point, Harry is seeing all of this going on. And Bobby mentions that in this episode, that, you think you're hiding it, but you're not. Harry sees everything. May too. They all see it. And we also learned that May got into USC. Athena wants her to go to USC because that's her alma mater. But she hasn't told Michael because she feels like she don't know what to do. And listening to Bobby explain all of this stuff to Michael about Harry seeing everything and May feeling some type of way because she was so happy that she got into USC, but all the joy left her face when she realized that she wanted to tell you, but you decided to take Harry camping, and realizing that there may not be a next year. So much going on. And Michael, not so much as that he wasn't looking out for it, but it just started taking place, and he just really couldn't keep his focus on all of that stuff. So he was missing a lot of this, and Bobby laid it out bare for him. And then we see him and Bobby having a real heart-to-heart moment. We see Michael telling him that, my father never got to see my kids. He never got to see Harry, but I kept him alive in Harry's mind. I kept talking about him and everything. And he tells Bobby that, I seen May grow up into a beautiful young woman for 18 years. But I may not see Harry grow up into becoming a man. And that's when he asked Bobby to take over the camping and all of this other stuff in case something happened to him. And that's why he invited him on the trip and everything. But it was so nice to see them have a genuine connection. And I love it, man. I love the family aspect from Athena, Bobby, Michael, May, and Harry. I love the fact that they love Michael. He's their father, and they want to do everything they can. They love Bobby, but Athena made a valid point. He's not their father. And yeah, they love Bobby. They really do. They always want to include Bobby out, in everything they do. But at the same time, if their father dies, it's gonna make them feel some type of way. But Michael was trying to incorporate Bobby into their rituals or whatever. So in case he does die, Harry will have Bobby to be that man. Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's sad at the same time, but it's so good, man. And I love that whole part of this episode. Then we see Maddie and Chimney having a moment. Because it started with we see Chimney catching his brother on the couch with some random chick, and some random chick is getting her PhD. And he tells him that, well, hey, you sit here every night with the same lady, you can do the same thing. You guys don't have any fire. You're not really igniting. And Chimney kind of thinks on it, and he tells the squad, everybody except for Buck and Bobby, that I love her. I really do. But we all know why Chimney's kind of holding back. He's a little skeptical. And we all know that it may be hard because of everything that happened with Maddie's ex-husband. So they go out to dinner to have a wonderful time to discuss another possibility of their relationship. And they get there to start talking and everything. And Chimney just spills his heart. Maddie, I love you. He came straight out and said it. There was no beating around the bush. He was like, Maddie, I love you. And she was like, well, I love you, but she didn't say those words because she said that she said it so much in her relationship with her husband just to make, just to ease the pain of whatever was happening to her from him being abusive. So she just threw the word around whether she meant it or not. So it's hard for her to use it again. And I love how that also came back to play at the end of the episode. So she tells him that, she feels a whole bunch of other emotions and joy and happiness and everything. And so they end up spending the night in their room, having a wonderful time and getting the groove on. So it was nice to see that with Maddie and Chimney, because we know Chimney has been hurt so much by females in the past seasons. But for him to actually find Maddie and them both come from different situations and find each other was absolutely wonderful as well. Then at the end of the episode, now before I dive into that part, one thing I will say, I feel like this is kind of Josh's fault. So the 911 operating center where Maddie works is being raided by the same criminals that attacked Josh last week. Now, the only thing I'm saying is I feel like it's kind of Josh's fault a little bit, because had he given a sketch to the police officers, this wouldn't have happened. But he didn't give the police officers a sketch, and now they raided their building. And Maddie was on the phone with Chimney, and he was trying to talk to her, and she kind of was a little shocked because Josh saw the guy, and he broke his mug. So she was caught off guard, and she couldn't say anything. Chimney was just talking to her. And the funny thing is, the dude was like, hang up the phone, but carefully. Don't give anything away. And she says, Chimney, I love you. Come on, man. We knew why she couldn't say it, and she didn't say it when they were having dinner and in an emotional moment. But when she was in trouble and in danger and needed him to know, because she said, Chimney, I love you. On that moment, I was straight losing it. I didn't know what else to do. I was like, okay, yes. But I feel like next week's episode, well, not next week, because we're not coming back to April 13th. But in 2 weeks, I feel like stuff is going down. We're going to have Buck going in there trying to get his sister. We're going to have Chimney trying to do something. We're going to have Athena coming in rampaging because she's friends with Maddie. There's so much going on that I'm super excited for next week's episode, man. This is your boy, Dick Incredible. Don't forget to smash that like button so you can't smash it anymore. Comment down below and I'll be sure to respond to each and every one of them and subscribe, but only if you really want to, man. Peace out.